I begin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the talk, what I've been going to tell you about is some ideas that are behind most of my work, or maybe even all of it. It's some simple composition ideas that I sort of always return to, and will try to see why that is and why they may be interesting. So the talk will be in two parts. In the first part I will talk about this idea more generally, and in the second part I will show a couple of examples from my own work, and we'll see how these ideas apply. So naturally this first part will be a little bit speculative. And as these ideas are very simple, you might even get an idea that they are behind all of music, or indeed all of art. But I will try to make the case that they are behind my work of art in a marked way. So if you think about human life, where you are born in a weak state, and you grow and you learn things and become stronger, and you learn to master life, and then again there is a period of decay with the old age, and then death, and you can think of it as some sort of an arc. And there's many things in that not only we but also our ancestors and their ancestors observe many arc-like things going on about them, and we link them also all together with each other. So for example, arc is very common in architecture, and in this Romanic church from England you can see like this arc through which you pass, which you could even connect to this arc of human life, and the pass through it is sort of like a way to another life. And when we think about these arcs that we have seen and that our ancestors have seen and their ancestors and so on, it is also like these arcs that repeat constantly, like waves on the sea, or the sun coming out and then going down. And we actually even when using language we talk dawn of something, like, and that's the beginning of an era, or somebody's life, or of a nation, or something like that. All these things have sort of this arc form that kind of begin and then grow and then decay, and maybe even in circles that constantly repeat, like the day after day. And also life is not just one arc, but it is arc made of many arcs, like days and years and other periods in life. So it's like a many arced structure of many arcs that repeat. So also we can see that in like I already mentioned, like a sea. But also if you look at the Gregorian chant, that the melody also is kind of an arc formed. Just these arcs they are not all totally equal, but every arc is a little different. It is maybe a little shorter, or has some kind of smaller semi-arcs within it, but it also goes like up and down and up and down and up and down. And these forms that we as you could say as a species, or not even as a species, as these arcs are observed by other animals too. So we also represent them somehow in, as we have seen in the Romanic church before, but also in many national dances. And even this is a dance from Serbia where they are like in a circle. And then you have also these kind of circular or arc-shaped structures in a cave painting on the right-hand side. Or it's to you it's on the left. Now I'll just switch to something entirely sort of different, which is, but also an extremely old thing that we observe, which is things that seem to happen randomly, and that don't have any kind of pattern. or that don't appear to have any kind of pattern, like patterns of leaves, or patterns of rain, or patterns of stars. And one, of course, like it has been like in the whole history of humanity, we have been searching or trying to find the reason or something behind it. Perhaps God's providence that guides things so that the harvest succeeds or not succeeds, or the pandemic hits or not hits. So in this context, we have tried to guess God's will from seeing how the birds fly, which seems random, and it is, but we have always sought to see things in these random events happening, that there is some kind of reason behind them, there is some kind of providence behind them. And then there is also, well, of course, dreams are a big source for telling the future. Although they are also, you could say, some kind of psychological random, where our mind recombines things lived and combines them in some kind of new ways. But maybe in some kind of these ways, sometimes can be extremely insightful, and then you have this striking dream that seems to reveal something. So this third thing that I wanted to talk about is a sort of a random, but a human random, like when you scribble randomly, or when you type randomly, and that's a different kind of chance than with the natural process that we observe, like rain or leaves. When I was in high school, we had a course in statistics, and the first exercise the teacher gave us to do at home was that actually had a strong impact on me artistically. Is that he told us to first imagine, like, if you were to throw a coin 100 times, like imagine that you were throwing a coin 100 times, and then try to imitate it in writing. Try to write a sequence of ones and zeros, of 100 ones or zeros, to imitate how you imagine like the coin will turn out. And then really throw the coin 100 times and write down what you got. And then compare the two sequences. And the two sequences were very different, in the sense that what I wrote was much more random than what the real random was. So I went a lot overboard in trying to imitate random. Yeah. Yeah, that was. But also I think I remember that the others had the same thought. So those are these three kind of topics that have always been interested in, and I could probably about this last topic go even a little bit more into by saying that I always imagined that art is successful when you unleash this some kind of underconscious thing by sticking to some kind of rule that you with which you make sure that you stay inside some kind of form or system, but you then let your unconscious work for it. As all you know, I like to use computers for making art, and at least the first two ideas, those about things repeating or going in some sort of arc form and random, they can be very easily made on a computer, and that's very interesting to me, because then you can make like really huge or extremely detailed structures by actually writing the program to execute them all. And that's somehow, to me, it's sort of, this approach is sort of aligned to a scientific worldview, where I sort of use like a computer program as a sort of a scientific procedure to reveal some kind of art content. As a scientist uses computer to emulate something or to make a model, so I use it to make art. Maybe I should also say something about this last line, saying that it is also interesting to me, as generative art puts me in the position of being an audience to my own work, so I don't really know what is going to happen in detail. I just envisioned like in a more in a less detailed like kind of form, and then it interests me, and then I try to create it. So I'll just show like one example. Well, this is a sort of, this kind of connects a little bit with what Jonas was talking about. So there are some randomly selected YouTube videos, but then each one is played on a loop, and each loop is there are 4 loops, but each is a tiny little bit longer, so they get into different overlaps. Similarly, as Steve Reich was incorrectly using the word phasing to describe this process.
You're making a flanking video.
I will show it to you. But now I know I will not use the word incorrect. So we'll look through a little bit of these. So this kind of combines these principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then turn it.
I will don't use too high because there are some other parts. Okay, you get the idea. There is one part, and because I made many videos like this, because I just made the program to actually, call the YouTube and fetch the videos and select the videos and then play them, and so I just record it with I use OBS to record it, and I just run this program which runs in the browser. So I have many videos like this. But there is one, and I'm not sure if it is this version, where there are some like video extracts from video games that go like in a loop like this, or guys hitting each other. It's very funny. So you could see that this is sort of.
Do you have one? Do you have one where the pictures on top of each other?
That's the next something I thought about putting them, but I kind of, for this I thought it would be good to see them all clearly, but there would be something interesting in putting them on top of each other and then seeing what happens. Yeah. So I actually have I know how to do it in JavaScript, and so I could apply it to this.
Okay.
So you can see this, that the content is randomly selected, but then it is looped in this kind of way where they are a little bit out of phase. So it does create an interesting rhythm, and it's an interesting way to watch YouTube. And this kind of repeated sequences, short repeated sequences, are very funny to watch. There are also some with children somewhere where they like play some instruments. Yeah.
That's how I play maracas.
Yeah. So
I really want to watch that one.
I was trying to press out, and so we are here. Oh yeah, so on the screenshot you see that there are these from video games which also are in the loop. So
Street Fighter.
Yeah, so that's one example of this kind of. I usually combine these principles in some way. They are interesting together. The principles of repetition and arc form, and this random and the random. And this one is a lot different. And this one, this is an instrumental piece for solo tuba. It is sort of inspired by this. There is this meme that has been running around, making rounds in Facebook, like extremely complex music that a genius spent years writing has no audience. But repetitive 3-chord music written in less than 10 minutes, everybody wants to listen to it. So it wants to show that, you know, this complex thing is great, while pop music is crap, but everybody, you know, stupid people, they want to listen to things that are not very good, you know. While the author of the meme, I suppose, is smarter than everybody, and than everybody from this queue, you know. So, well, I completely disagree with this, and especially with this notion that complexity is some kind of value by itself in art. So my goal was to make a piece that I will spend 10 minutes to write and will like contain 3 tones or something like that, and to present it as an art thing. You know, the result was quite fascinating. So the result was, I will show you how I do that. So the result is, you can see here in the notation, and it is actually, to learn this to perform is extremely difficult. So there, oh my god, okay, so I have presented this talk in Finland, but I replaced a guitar piece with a tuba piece, but I forgot to change the text. So here it is talking about chords, but there are actually no chords, so I made a mistake there. So there are 4 elements, 3 notes, only 3 notes, which are A, F, and E, and the silence. So there are only 4 elements. Now the rhythm is extremely syncopated, so this is extremely difficult first to memorize, because everything is kind of the same, but nothing ever really repeats. And it's very often like you have to, so since it cannot be memorized, you have to read at the same time as you play, and you have to do it, the tempo is quite fast, so you have to have an enormous focus. And this is 3 full pages of notes. It lasts about 4 minutes because the tempo is pretty fast, and it's an incredible challenge to play. Although it was written really in like 10 minutes, and I am going to show you how. So you can write it too. Okay, so I take 1/16th note, and what did we say? It was E, F, and A or something? Yeah. So E, F, and A are actually, you can take them on the keyboard with 3 fingers, and 0 is for a break. So it's like this. What the fuck? Sorry. There was this anecdote where Vivaldi had said that he could write a new he could write a new concerto faster than a copyist could copy it. And I will tell that I can write a new piece faster than a computer can represent it on the screen. Oh, it's still going. Okay, so like this and start playing. I think this is much more regular than in realities, but it's because I'm typing, but it's waiting to do some processing, and then so it didn't really catch my typing in real time because it's just too slow. But I will. You get the point.
Yeah.
So the next thing.
It's a shit computer.
I will just. Do we have? I haven't really looked at the time. When did I start talking? Because this is the last example, and I think if we have the time,
10 minutes or something like that. So
I can play the entire piece for you. I have had the 2 pieces.
Time for the questions also.
Yeah, 10 minutes including
sure.
questions. But, yeah.
So, okay. So the conclusion is that I have, tried to survey with this, from more general perspective and in a couple of examples. And I believe that these themes are interesting because they are part of everybody's experience and that's something that we had wondered since, not just since our childhood, but since our parents' childhood and their parents' childhood, and all the way back since our ancestors walked out of the water. You know? And I think that these are interesting for these reasons, as being also part of folk culture and ancient art. So in that name, I will play my tuba piece for you, and I think we can listen to all of it because it's 4 minutes long, and he's done a lot of work to prepare it. It's Akshat Jain. It's an American tubist who's playing it.
is it's really nice. It's like I could listen to that for a really long time. But there was one thing that made me think into what you were talking about your principle for the idea, where it sounds as if it's difficult for him to play. Not difficult, but challenging.
It is difficult.
Right, because it's tuba and it goes fast and it's really sharp. And
you can tell that it's hard.
But would it be nice with another version, let's say Shortcut 6, where it was sort of the same composition, but where it was easy to play? Maybe if it was another instrument, because that would maybe be more in line with the idea you had, because the 3 chords and that kind of like, there's also this thing about it's easy to play, you know. Just a thought.
You're referring to this meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just inspired by this meme. So it is difficult to play. So it kind of goes to this category. So this guy is also actually spending 10 minutes.
Okay, he saw those all that. And I also want to have a. But then in a way he made it difficult still.
So it is okay. So, or maybe you could also interpret it in another way. Whoever created this meme has never tried to write a pop song, or has never written a good one, because a good pop song is difficult to write. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it, or it wouldn't be a thing. So, but it is interesting. There is one aspect to it that it is difficult to play. So Jakob has played. Okay, so this Shortcuts is is an ongoing cycle. I have written 16 works so far. Clearly, I can write a ton of them. But since they are very new and they are difficult to play, while some people are working on them, still only Jakob Bangso, Aarhus-based Danish guitarist, has premiered one of them, number 11. And this is this number 11. It's similar like this, but it has chords.
Okay.
So it has a bass note and 3 chords. I think 3 or 4, 3 chords. Yeah, just like in the meme. It really has 3 chords and the bass, but it also has this kind of syncopated rhythm, and like you have to focus hugely to get it right. And you can tell that it's really difficult, but it also has this something from pop music with this syncopated rhythm and only 3 chords appearing.
Where can you hear
so it's not he has just the premiere was like 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago, and for a recording he would prefer to spend some more time. Though the recording to my taste is good, but he would like, he also took like a really fast tempo. But the idea here is 3 chord music is not necessarily trivial. Quite the contrary. It's not that having 1,000 chords in a piece makes it a good piece, like the meme is trying to say. So it does make sense that it is difficult, not that it is easy. Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think I have one, but I find it a little bit hard to formulate. But you said that you often find that you combine some of the,
not necessarily all.
How do you find it in the meeting between your composition and the tuba? Do you think that you use more than one? Okay, so this tuba piece was more. I think if we talk in terms of these 3 ideas that I have presented, then the tuba piece is more single-minded. But you could say that there are some kind of between 3 notes there is some kind of arc going on. Although the piece is not in an arc form, it's just speaking about form. It's the same at the beginning as at the end, as in the middle. So you could imagine it going forever in the same way. So it doesn't have any kind of major arc in it. Although this is most in the sense of the 3rd idea that I have presented, which is this random typing. And I haven't mentioned to you that there is one thing about this random typing, is that
you know, if somebody cracks into your account in your online banking, if you have that, there is still a way to tell that it's somebody else and not you. Is because the way you move your mouse, the way you use the keyboard is personal. In the sense that how many breaks are there between what kind of motions you make, that is as personal as your signature. And the study that studies this is called behaviometric. So actually this series of works is inspired by behaviometric, by typing patterns, because although I have joked saying you can also do this, yes you can also do this, but it won't be the same. The typing patterns here are my personal ones, so it is a search for my personal fingerprint.
But I have like, sorry, but I have like a follow-up question, which is, I get that, but I'm speaking more as like in the meeting with the tuba and with the person who plays the tuba and with the sort of like organic way that you play music. Don't you think that adds, I think it like has, the way I imagine it if I close my eyes, it's like also a thing with the leaves and the drops in the water.
Yeah, you could say that, because the effort that the tubist puts in and the accidental stronger or less strong accents and tones add this kind of leaf quality. And so you could say that. I haven't thought of this. Thank you. Yeah, that's
Can I just ask, when would you reach exhaustion with this idea or concept or whatever? I mean, also in your
this
like
particular one,
shortcuts
or with all of these
the recipe that you are building there. When would you, I mean, as an artist, say I don't want to make more of these pieces, or I want to give it on to someone else? When do you?
I mean, I don't have a plan with that. That also depends how much interest there would be. You know, if people have found it boring, though, that doesn't seem the case. And actually, funny thing is, I had a rehearsal with an American duo, flute and percussion, who was rehearsing Shortcuts 8. I sent these things to various, open calls and concourses, and then okay, so these guys liked it, but and so they showed me how they played, and they were pretty good. They were a bit challenged by how difficult it is, and but the percussionist, who is sort of the lead of the ensemble, he pressed me really hard to tell him how I made the piece. And then I told him about all this, that the shortcut is come from the keyboard shortcuts, and I make this piece extremely fast, and like how this all works. And then when I told him, it was a Zoom meeting. He was looking at me for like a little while, and then said, "I have never heard anything like this." So okay, so whereas some other people, I have posted this on a group. On a Facebook group, and it created a huge discussion, although I haven't revealed what's the process behind it, but I just posted it, and actually I made something that Jakob, for the ease of reading, asked me to put 1/4 here, so that he would have a more clear or more visual cues when the first beat is. And the 1/4 is not exactly correct, but it just helps him.
Sure.
And so I was stupid to publish it with 1/4 in a Facebook group for composers, and people got so upset. There was a huge discussion, but there was some, because a group of people were saying, no, this is totally wrong how it is written, but some other people were saying, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And there were so many comments that this is the most listened piece on my SoundCloud, because of that. And I got 3 other tubists asked me to send them the score, so that they could play it. But they didn't ask how I made it, so that didn't come to the surface. Yeah. So I think there seemed to be some interest, but the pieces are all relatively new. I started this whole cycle like last year, and not that I like every day sit down and write another one, which I could, but it's not that much fun. I mean, it is fun to do it occasionally, But I'm going to see how many ensembles are gonna play this and how much interest. Jakob is very happy with the piece. It's very attractive because of these 3 chords that just go in this syncopated rhythm. So he's gonna play it more than once, I'm sure. And so to answer your question in the end, when I'm going to stop with this, there is no plan to stop, because if this might be a golden mine for me, because if like all kinds of ensembles start asking for these pieces, I can deliver them in a huge quantity. and I promise you that I will. I'm not, but who knows if I, in a few years after writing hundreds of these, maybe I will at some point say, no, enough. That is certainly a possibility, but up to now I haven't even written that many. It's like just I have written 16, and I actually I have an idea for 17th, because they are not all the same. Everyone has a little bit of a twist on the idea. So even like maybe this is the simplest form where literally I just type and that is the result. But for the guitar piece, I have typed it into, you can't type chords with a single shortcut. So I typed say 1, 2, 3 and 0 into a text editor, and then wrote a program to actually modify to put one chord on one, the other chord on 2, and so on. These are these power chords actually with based on fourths.
Okay.
But speaking about power chords, so shortcuts 11 is with power chords, but I'm actually shortcut 17, the new one, which I don't have an idea where to send it, but I like the idea, is with a 1, 4, 5. It's C major, F major, and G major in both hands, and also in this kind of crazy syncopated motion, so that it really doesn't have this kind of functional tonality thing, but it is familiar chord used in a new way. So yeah, we'll see.
I want to ask about the arch and also comment the arch. I play with a friend, a guy in North Zealand. We've been playing for many years and been doing many different long concerts, and sometimes we take acid and play for 8 hours. That could be a concert also, or just 1 hour when you're tripping or whatever. And then sometimes we had this joke where we end up just playing, like we start and then we play, and then when the concert is over, or when we're finished playing, when it's like, oh, we can't, then the concert is, so it's just like one piece, and it turned into an arch like that, where our performance is one item, and it represents a whole life like that one. Where in the beginning you don't know what you're doing, kind of like tuning and then comes the teenage, and then you all of a sudden you start masturbating and going like in different directions, and then you sort of like, oh, now you get a direction in life and you want to be ambitious sort of in the first 20% of the song, and then comes like all of a sudden, but then you're 40 and then you have a back problem in the middle, and then comes the midlife crisis in the middle of the song, and then later comes like, oh shit, let's forget about this shit, like, the last 20% is just like, I'm gonna die anyway, and just fade out and slowly in the grave. And
as I said before, you could say this is behind a lot of music and a lot of art. So it's not like something that's unique to me.
But that was what I mean. It reminds me of it. There's so many informations in that art that can be represented.
Definitely.
That's what I think is interesting.
Definitely.
But then I also think it's interesting that you started talking about it, just because, like, from at least most of the music that I recognize with you would be actually, I feel that you are like totally opposites of the arts. Because like when you do programming, you can go from 0 to
hero.
200.
Yeah, that's true.
In zeros, time, you can do that which nobody else.
You can definitely do that, but that's not necessarily artistically plausible.
Okay,
though it could,
but it's just very much
on the context.
in your music. It's very much there where you because you program and then you are able to like make, you know, sounds travel from here to there even more faster, or with different, much more threshold than even synthesizers.
Yeah, definitely. You can do physically impossible sounds with the computer. But for instance, my main lately my main work with electronic music has been with my ensemble, and these things have very much arc formed. Although they are this 1-bit electronics, which is physically impossible without without the computer. So yeah, but it is an arc within an arc within an arc. So yeah, the arcs do appear a lot in what I do in a marked way. Okay. Thank you so much.